and welcome. This is Michael Beach, and you are dialed into the What Are You Doing podcast. This is the show for thought leaders who are investing in the next generation of leadership for their organization. This is also the show for emerging leaders who want to become that next generation of great leaders. Together, we can develop leaders who will, in turn, develop more leaders and make a difference in this economy and in this world. All of us at Michael Beach Coaching and Consulting are excited to be able to bring you another podcast episode twice each month. We consider ourselves to be very fortunate to be engaged in the business of contributing to the success of forward-thinking, fast-growth companies. We're grateful to be able to help them to develop and cultivate great leaders at all levels of their companies because it's rewarding and meaningful work. We're thrilled that our work often leads to results that make a difference for a multitude of families. We're especially excited today to have the opportunity to introduce you to today's special guest, my friend and an extraordinary leader in his own right, Chris Pace, the founder and CEO of Center Technologies, a Texas-based fast-growth technology company with offices in Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas. Center Technologies is a great source of technology expertise and has experts who help their clients with secure managed services, security solutions, cloud strategies consulting, project consulting services, and cloud-hosted services, among many other technology solutions. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be with you today on this podcast.
It's great to have you with us today, Chris. Listeners, I've known Chris for at least 10 years, and let me give you a little bit of background. Chris founded Center Technologies 12 years ago. Before Center, Chris was a successful technology consultant who helped companies that were doing acquisitions to integrate their technology departments into one department. His passion has always been technology, but he also has a strong passion for business. Chris sees IT at the heart or the center of every business, and he believes if you focus on IT, it'll quickly accelerate your company toward your goals. Because he believes you're only as good as the people that surround you, Chris has surrounded himself with the right people who've helped him to build a regional IT solutions and services powerhouse in the state of Texas. Chris, I've been hearing about your security and cloud offerings. Would you mind spotlighting those for our audience today, please? Love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the cloud is extremely relevant, especially in today's time with the situation that we're going through with the COVID-19. And a lot of the cloud solutions that clients, that customers or different businesses around the world are looking at is, how do I work in the event of a disaster? So a lot of what we're helping customers do is we're helping customers move their technology to the cloud, which enables them to have systems that are flexible, scalable, aligned with their business from a spend standpoint. And along with that is really the ability to be able to provide those business continuity solutions so that as they move, their organization in times like these to work from home, they don't miss a beat with their overall operations and they can continue to work. Along with that is, from a security perspective, in times like now, the hackers are out there are looking for changes and how can they go faster. So one of the things that we do at Center is really provide a secure by default environments to our customers, and that's through best practices, that's through our expertise and how we set up the environments. But it's a secure by default environment, so we have the ability to be able to stay away and protect those businesses So they're not having to deal with another disaster on their hands.
Sounds like there are many benefits to moving workloads up to the cloud and keeping things secure.
Absolutely. There's a lot of benefits. One of the things that you really have to find is you have to find a partner that has that expertise. So the cloud is actually changing a lot of the ways that we're managing environments. So it's important for, if you're going to the cloud, that you understand what's all available. You're able to leverage it so that you maximize the investment that you make. And finding a partner that has that level of expertise is critical.
Well, that makes a tremendous amount of sense, getting leverage out of moving things to the cloud. Chris, an easy question for you. I like to keep things easy early on in the podcast. What's your favorite band or artist and your favorite song?
My favorite band or artist, our favorite song has got to be the Texas A&M fight song. I graduated from Texas A&M. If you've ever gone to that school, it's all about culture. There's rocks on the campus that you're not allowed to walk on because some guy 75 years ago put something in there and created something great. So it's all about being great. And so, every time I hear that fight song, I get chills. It's usually at the football games, and I love to go to the games, but that song always gives me chills.
Well, that's great. Now, if you're a Texas A&M alum, that means you're an Aggie, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Got it. Great football program down there.
Yes, sir.
My next question is similar. What's the best business or leadership book or movie that you've ever read or watched?
I'm not a huge reader of books. I'm trying to get better at that. And I watch a lot of documentaries on business. I watch a lot of real life stories on business. So one of the best movies that I've watched is Pirates of Silicon Valley. The ability to be able to watch Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and how they built Microsoft and Apple into the powerhouses that they are today. And really how they changed the world. So how they went through, different problems that existed in front of them and how they were able to find solutions that, is the products that we see today. From a book standpoint, I think one of the books that's fantastic is Traction, which really lays down the foundation. It has the ability to be able to lay down the foundation for an operating system for your business that you can follow. Another book that I'm a big fan of is That Will Never Work by the original Netflix founder. Mm-hmm. And just listening to some of the things that he went through to build Netflix into what it is today. And probably the third book that meant a lot to me was Powerful, Building a Culture of Freedom and Responsibility. It's actually the HR person of Netflix that talked about, how to acquire talent within the organization, and not just acquire talent from them wanting to come work from you, but how do you look at it and how do you go get them to, you provide the environment, you provide the culture, and you really provide an environment that is all about the people. So those are three books and a movie that resonated with me well.
Awesome. Some great examples of leadership in every one of those. Chris, think back. Do you remember when you became interested in leadership? How is it that you came to be involved in developing leaders?
Going back as a kid, the only thing that I can remember is that I always wanted to be a leader. I'm a huge fan of sports, always played sports growing up as a kid, and I could never throw a baseball 100 miles an hour, but I always wanted to be in the major leagues. So, one area that I think I focused on is, hey, I'd like to be an owner of a Major League Baseball team. And in everything I did as a kid, whether it was in sports, I'm super competitive. So whether it was in sports, whether it was a group project, friends to work, it was always about how do we be the best. So having that competitive nature, I think, drove a lot of my want to be a leader in the world. And it was all really focused around how do we be the best at what we do.
Over the years, I've watched a few baseball games with you, Chris, and I think I've started to sense your other passion in addition to technology and business might just well be baseball. You're quite a Houston Astros fan.
Absolutely.
Did you have any leadership mentors along the way who made a big impression or a big investment in you, Chris?
I worked since I was 16 years old in high school, and I always looked at my bosses as mentors, and I had a lot of great bosses in my career. I think the one, if I have to look back and say, what was that, that one mentor that helped me, drive a lot of the leadership skills that I have today, I would say it's my mom. And she taught me certain things that I still carry around today that I think are critical to be a leader and to have people follow you. I think, three of the things that really mean a lot to me is, one, you got to do it right. Even if it's small, you got to do it right. And that really goes down to, if you see a piece of trash on the ground, pick it up. It doesn't belong there, and let's do it right. The other thing is you got to deliver on your word. You've got to make sure that what you say is what you're going to do when you're going to do it. And then the third thing is be honest, even when it's tough. So even when it is hard to be honest, you've always got to be honest. And, those three things, in my opinion, build trust. And I think that is critical that you have trust within leadership.
Couldn't agree with you more. Your mother, you're talking about Kathy Pace, was a huge influence on you, so much so that you created a scholarship program to honor her, correct?
Yes, sir. A scholarship program that we put out every year to where we're helping to, provide a scholarship or funding to a student who has technology as a passion and really getting out there and making a change in the world.
What a fantastic way to honor your mother's legacy of leadership, Chris. Well done. We've got to imagine that a dynamic leader like yourself, Chris, must invest to become a better leader. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what you're doing to raise the level of your leadership game?
I think you always have to invest in yourself. You've always got to be able to raise your game as a leader. I think one of the things is that you got to make sure that you're never complacent, and you've always got to find ways to get better. I'm not like I said previously, I'm not a big reader of books, but a wise man named Michael Beach has always been trying to change that with giving me books that I can read, that I can take away things like traction that's going to allow me to be able to place a foundation within our business to provide better leadership to all of the people within an organization. But the other thing that I do, that I invest in myself, is I read a lot of media articles, and I always try to find leadership success examples. And I try to replicate those in the organization. I think leaders are everywhere. And if you look at examples, you don't just have to read a business book, but if you look for leadership examples, it is takeaways that you can do, that you're investing in yourself, you're researching, you're understanding how does that fit in your organization, and you can make it better because you're never complacent. So a couple of examples of this is, you look at Billy Beane, who's the general manager of the Oakland Athletics. What did he do that always makes the Oakland Athletics compete every year? He looked at not just, he didn't have all the money in the world as the New York Yankees had, but he was able to do different things with data analytics or surrounding himself around the right people so that he could build a contending team every year. And just last night, one of the other things that I did was I watched a documentary on Steve Madden. I have no passion for shoes. I could care less about shoes. But just watching that documentary, one of the big takeaways that I had within that documentary was his passion, even over the years and how long that he's been within that organization. One of the things that the employees look up to him about is his passion in creating those shoes every day. So just looking at myself and investing that time to be able to pull out those success examples, I look at it as how can I show our team within Center Technologies my passion for technology and business? How can I show them that will help them follow me in the journey that we're down?
Those are some fantastic examples. I had the opportunity probably about 7 or 8 years ago to hear Billy Beane speak. And I thought that he was an incredibly sophisticated guy. I loved how driven by data that he was. And after his speech was over, I chatted with him for a few minutes. He even gave me an incredibly great stock tip that made me a lot of money. So Billy's one of my favorite guys now.
That's fantastic. That is awesome.
Chris, as you develop leaders in your organization at Center Technologies, have you come to some conclusions about maybe a few changes that aspiring leaders could make to improve their leadership skills?
It goes back to one of the big things is you never can be complacent. You've always got to be finding ways to make things better. People will follow you if they see that you're making positive changes. People want to get on a winning team. So you making those positive changes will, that's a leadership trait, not being complacent. How do I look at always getting better? And people will get on board with that and go with you and really start rowing in the same direction, which will, give you even more power as a leader. Another big thing is, like I said, one of the traits that my mother taught me is that you've got to deliver. You got to do what you say, and when you say you will. That consistency is really, really critical to be able to build trust with the team that you're leading. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing is you've got to be humble and always remember you're only as good as the people around you.
Wow, some very powerful advice there for listeners who are on the path currently to becoming a leader. I love the idea of being positive and helpful and that others will naturally follow. I've noticed that is very much true year in and year out. Chris, have you noticed any particular obstacles or perhaps barriers that emerging leaders tend to get slowed down by or may even get stuck behind?
One of the biggest things, in going back to the deliver comment, I think, from the opposite of that is not delivering on what you say and when you say that you're going to do something, not being consistent. Mm-hmm. That immediately is going to destroy trust. And it's very hard for you to be a leader when you're unable to meet that. And the other big thing is arrogance. I think arrogance is one of the biggest barriers to being a great leader. It gets in the way of good judgment, good business decision, or decision in general that enables you to find a solution or a positive change. So, arrogance and not delivering to me are two obstacles that you can't have with being a leader that people are going to follow.
So important to be humble. I think we've all worked with somebody who was really overconfident or arrogant, and it just becomes a real detriment to the collaboration and the camaraderie that everybody's trying to accomplish, for sure.
Absolutely.
What's the greatest leadership advice anybody has ever given to you, Chris?
I think it goes back to my mom. You're only as good as the people around you. And when you get in a room, it's talking about being humble and not arrogant. No one person knows everything. And so, if you can, you know a lot, but other people around you know things as well. And I think collaboration is key. I think to find the right solution, it's hard to find the right solution. There's a lot of dials, there's a lot of levels. And in order to find that right solution is you really got to believe that you're only as good as the people around you. So getting their advice, getting their opinion, getting their creativity and their innovation is really going to be able to help you make better decisions. And like I said, people want to get on board with positive change throughout an organization. Throughout any entity, people will want to get on board with that positive change. So knowing that you're only as good as the people around you and leveraging the skill sets that exist, the knowledge and the skill sets that exist around you is going to make you a better leader.
Wonderful advice. It sounds like your mom was encouraging you to avoid hanging around with Eddie Haskell when you were growing up. Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, good. My mom was doing the same thing with me, I guarantee you. So, Chris, thinking about Center Technologies, how important are core values in your organization?
Our core values are huge, and it's something that's ingrained into the roots of our business. So it's not something that we come in and, the people in our organization just say. It's something that we naturally do, and it's not something that we have to do. And when, finding employees or, recruiting talent within an organization, it's something we look for. We look for talent of people that have similar core values that are our organization's core values, so that, it's something that's ingrained to us and something that we're doing and not having to be told to do.
A lot of times when I'm talking with people about core values, they try to tell me that this is all just, marketing fluff. It's just a plaque on the wall of our conference room. It doesn't really mean anything. As you rolled these things out and made them integral in your business, Chris, what did you do to make them real and relevant along the way?
We talked about them every day, and a lot of the processes that we put in place or, different procedures that we do to deliver to clients, it all rolls back to those core values. So, one of the core values that I talked about, one of your earlier questions is do it right. So how do we do it? How do we make sure that every time we touch a computer, we're going to do it the right way? And that's critical. The other thing is honesty and passion for technology and business. So, really getting it ingrained in our organization is it's part of our processes, but it's really part of our people is the main thing. We've done the whole marketing things as well, to where you put all the signs on the wall. And those are really for our customers to be able to see, our customers and our partners, for them to be able to see what our core values are, to make sure that as we're delivering a service, they feel them. But, from my opinion, it's in the people. It's choosing the people, and it's making sure that everything that we do as part of our organization and what we deliver to our clients is delivered with those.
So I'm hearing loud and clear that at Center Technologies, your core values are anything but marketing fluff. They're really the way that you keep score. They're really the way that you run your business day in and day out, every day of the week.
Absolutely. They are the fundamentals of what we deliver to not just our clients and vendors, but also to ourselves.
Marvelous. Well, Chris, when you're recruiting leaders to your organization, what are some of the characteristics and traits that you're looking for in a leader?
I look for three things when recruiting leaders within the organization. Do they always look for ways to improve? Are they always searching for not only how do they improve their business, but how do they improve themselves?
Sure.
Another thing that I look for, and very similar to me, are they competitive? To always be looking to improve, I feel strongly that you got to be competitive. And then the third thing that I look for is, will they roll up their sleeves and work with their team? Are they humble, and will they have the ability to be able to, a lot of times people need to see the path of where they're going down. Great leaders have the ability to be able to roll up their sleeves, sit down with their team, and actually show them what that path looks like.
Sure. Well, those three sound like must-haves to me, Chris. And I know that you've used those to attract some terrific leaders to your team over the last several years.
We're going to take a short break for a commercial from one of our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with more of the interview with Chris Pace, the CEO of Center Technologies.
Today's corporate world is full of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Frankly, the stakes have been raised. The pressure to deliver results has gone up, and the need to raise the level of your game has increased as well. What are you doing to invest in taking your game to a whole new level of clarity and accountability? If I told you that Michael Beach Coaching and Consulting has developed hundreds of high-performance C-suite executives and emerging leaders, would you be intrigued? Hiring an executive development coach can help an up-and-coming leader to bridge the gap between understanding what to do and actually getting it done on a consistent basis. At Michael Beach Coaching and Consulting, we develop each of our executives in over 15 fundamental areas of business, including communications, managing change, understanding motivation and behavior, emotional intelligence, executive presence, leadership development, team building and collaboration, and many, many more. We use behavioral and emotional intelligence assessments, coaching, and pure education to sharpen the skills of our developing leaders. As we begin to understand what the leaders want and need, we help them to build their confidence quickly through achieving results consistently that raise their visibility within their company and their influence with others. We focus on both the soft people skills of management and leadership, and also the hard data-driven and process-oriented skills of delivering results. The combination of our approach leads to such extraordinary results that we are confident in providing performance guarantees to our clients. So give us a call at 651-335-4505 in our Minnesota office, or our Arizona office at 520-732-2266. And have a conversation with me, Michael Beach, about reserving the opportunity for you or one of your colleagues to work closely with one of our master coaches to take your game to an entirely new level. You owe it to yourself to see what having an executive coach on your team could do for you and for your business.
All right, we're back from our break and more with Mr. Chris Pace, the CEO at Center Technologies.
You've obviously invested a lot of time and energy in yourself over the years to become a great leader. Can you help our listeners understand maybe the best single leadership development investment you ever made in yourself?
Time. Time is your number one asset, and it's the one thing that you can't buy. So you have to make sure that you're investing time to be a great leader. And the other thing is you have to be able to show them the path to leadership by always practicing what you preach. Consistency is key. People follow people that are consistent. And if you do not do what you preach, then nobody is going to follow you.
Really powerful advice for emerging leaders, Chris. I'm hearing that time can be your friend, or on the other hand, it can be your downfall. And for our emerging leaders that are listening today, remember, folks, your success depends on the choices you make and the way you respond to the events of your day. Good choices and positive responses are going to lead you to positive outcomes. Chris, does that sound right to you? Does that sound like what you're saying too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think just to reiterate that time can be your friend and it can be your enemy. I think you may not be able to buy time from a dollar standpoint, but you can gain time back with being efficient and prioritizing what you do. So there are ways that you can maximize your time, but you've got to make sure that you're focusing time on the right areas, and that helps you in everything that you do.
That makes perfect sense to me. What would you like to recommend to our listeners about investing in others so that those people around you can become great leaders themselves?
The biggest thing that I can recommend to listeners about investing in others is time. You got to make sure that you find time to work on the business and not just work within it. So that's time to making sure that you're improving in every area that you're doing it. It may not just be business. That's kind of a point that I have to make, that there's leaders all around and they may not only be in business, but, it's making sure that you find that time to invest in yourself to be able to get better and making sure that in everything that you do, you're consistent. Being non-consistent, it ruins trust. And when you ruin trust, people don't follow you if they don't trust you.
Amen. Couldn't agree with you more. Well, my final question, Chris, you've had a distinguished record of developing high-performing teams in your company. We'd love to hear your thoughts about teamwork and collaboration. Do you have any observations about how to develop strong teamwork and collaboration among your team?
I'm a huge believer in teamwork collaboration. Even though I love technology and coming from a geeky approach, nothing replaces the ability to be able to grab a conference room with a whiteboard, work with your teammates to be able to find a solution to a problem or find an enhancement to a process that you have. You can't do that in email. You can't do that over a chat channel. An email and a chat channel is about, other means of communication, but there is nothing that is going to be able to replace teamwork and collaboration with the ability to just be able to grab a room and work together. And, again, going back to you're only as good as the people around you. So you're in the room and you're actually working on solving the problem versus sending an email with an idea. There's nothing that can replace that ability.
Sounds like a great people-oriented approach, Chris. Thank you. Well, hey, listeners, that is our episode for today. We want to thank our special guest, Chris Pace, the founder and CEO of Center Technologies in Houston, Texas. Thank you, Chris, for contributing your time, your energy, and for sharing some of your stories with us for our What Are You Doing listeners. We appreciate your contribution to our program and to the ongoing success of our tribe. We hope you'll come back and visit us again for another episode sometime down the road. Our next episode will be released in 2 weeks, and we're excited to announce that our next show will feature Michael Beach talking with Terry Suter, the former CEO of FastBridge Learning in Minneapolis, currently the president of the FastBridge Learning Division of Illuminate Education, a California-based company working to drive better educational outcomes for students all over the United States. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today, and please reach out to us at info@michaelbeachcoach.com if you'd like to make a suggestion for a future episode guest, or if you'd like to volunteer to become a featured guest yourself. We'll look forward to spending our next episode together with you. Until then, remember, keep moving forward. Build early momentum and keep your fire stoked as a way of life. Keep the fire burning brightly, and your momentum is likely to carry you all the way to your goals or to the promised land. See you next time.